Coming at you from Scratchable Studio. It's that time again to rage across the internet. It's your very favorite Werewolf the Apocalypse podcast. As always, I'm your host, Porter. And sitting across from me, the guy who put the bop in the bop shawapta bop, Mr. Daniel Tyson.
Hey yo.
And chic and mashed potato, it's our one and only M.
Hey, hey.
And he's doing the twist, Mr. CJ.
Howdy, y'all.
And coming in is a special guest for the second time ever. He blesses the rains down in Africa, Mr. Kilimanjaro.
How you doing? I love that.
How's everybody
Screw
doing?
you, vampires.
Great now. Fucking great now.
Well, having a good one.
Great to have everybody together again. It hasn't been 10
Absolutely.
minutes or anything.
Like 15.
Yeah. So, Phil, welcome back. Your second appearance. How's that feel?
Feels awesome. To reiterate, I've been guided down my emotional pathway through this wheel that's been gifted me, so I know exactly how I'm feeling now.
It's not quite your own Muppet likeness, but it's a little something we can do for you as a guest on the show.
Absolutely.
Good to be in touch.
They actually used to do that, by the way,
I know.
on the Muppet Show.
Mm-hmm.
Guess got their own
What?
Muppet likeness.
It's weird.
Sounds scary.
It's kind of awesome, right?
It's kind
Like
of awesome, but I've seen a few of them, and some of
it's
them
like
are
your own
ugh.
Muppet voodoo doll.
I mean,
I was just about to say that.
it is, and like, I could see how that would work in like certain ways, but then again, we wouldn't get shit like Tim Curry treating Muppets like actual people whenever he's performing with them.
But see, everyone treated the Muppets like they were actual people. That was part of the beauty of it. Like, you know, it is part of the beauty. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah.
So things like puppets and
No, these are Muppets.
people, puppets, Muppets, whatever, people in costume, they've always made me a little uncomfortable.
Those are three very different things. And Kermit the Frog is a national treasure.
He scared me when I was little.
I don't know how to handle this. This show is now a different show. We're gonna
I didn't feel for the actual play.
Waka waka.
Well, Carly already hugged the Teddy Talltail guy. That surprises the heck out of me.
Well, she just did it just to make Rico look like an asshole.
Well, that's not hard.
Yeah. I mean, and Carly doesn't have the same fears as Em. So.
Right. It's acting, sir.
But yes, definitely the people in costumes. That's a little creepy to me. I like to see people's faces.
Well, you are seeing Kermit's face.
Face.
Kermit the Frog.
I do like the meme of him sipping the tea, though. That's fun.
That's a classic, yeah.
Back to the Muppet likeness. The idea of like getting you can like switch your soul into that.
Oh my god.
Like maybe. That's where,
Child's play it up.
well, a little bit, but that's where I got my idea, right, with Chris
Mhm.
Hansen.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, we all know Chris Hansen, the legendary To Catch a Predator hero.
You're
Love that
wrong.
guy.
Fuck
Right?
yeah.
But, you know, he's
Yeah.
getting older.
National treasure right there.
He is getting older. So I propose
This is one
we
of
get
my
the Muppet
favorites.
likeness. Chris. Chris Henson. So you combine them. You make Muppet Chris Hansen. He's Chris Henson.
Oh my god.
Hey ho, have a
I thought
seat.
you were going to say Chris Handsome.
That's what the ladies call him.
Yeah, it is.
Where are you here to meet a 15-year-old girl? Yay!
That would
You're
be
going to jail.
Yup.
and then just do the arm flail thing.
Yup.
Congratulations, you're getting arrested.
Have a seat, sir. But you came here.
I've read the chat log, sir.
I wasn't gonna do anything though.
But you showed up. Ho ho.
And you had said. And then just a hate
Yeah.
and shit coming out of this Muppet's
Right?
mouth.
Exactly.
Love some good justice.
This is my new favorite thing ever. I
Trying
mean,
to run away.
I knew this
Yeah.
this bit. I knew this. We've talked about this before. It's goddamn funny. But
I'm a
like,
genius. It's my
Yeah.
idea.
but like now we're just adding to it, and it's amazing.
Haze 'em.
RAI lore is the best lore.
Yes, it is.
So I know in this week of bullshit, Danny, I know you wanted to tell us about your new gaming obsession.
Obsession? Well, it's just kind of a shared obsession.
Oh no! There's now a fucking full on Rage Across team in that game. That's not the issue though. You wanted to talk about it, so this is on you.
So there's a new gaming obsession, and it's going across, and this is Once Human, and this is a survival /
action building Pokemon
crafting,
game.
building, and Pokemon collecting.
It's very.
It's so fucking weird.
It's a lot of parts.
And it's all weird. All of it. I even got, you got me into this.
Yes.
And I was upset. I was mad.
Yeah, Danny doesn't like new things.
No, I don't like change.
Well, it's not like even a change. It's just something new. It's not like you can't do anything before. Nothing was taken away or altered. Just here's something new in front of you, and you're like, fuck you, I hate it.
Here's something that's not Destiny.
Right?
Yes, good point. Now,
Burn.
I am, yes, very big burn, yes. But I am bitching to you, Porter, about this game.
Incessantly.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
I'm just living my life and have a good time playing this game. And he's bitching about every aspect.
I'm bitching in this, the first, maybe hour?
Yeah.
But yet I realize that I haven't stopped playing yet.
Well, meanwhile, I'm like, don't stop playing. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
you don't like have to just stop. I don't want to hear this anymore.
Because you're liking it. And then I realized, I bitched so much that I was like, oh, it's really not that bad. And then I look, I'm like, oh, that's because I have this much progress already.
Well, at that point, we teamed up.
Yeah.
And I kind of helped you because you didn't pay attention to the tutorial. And so you understood what you were doing now. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it wasn't so bad.
And then I started all over.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, okay, now I got it.
Met your progress in like an hour.
Yep. I even got 3 guys from work to join me on this. And I was like, yeah, I'll join you. We'll hang out. We'll do this. It's, my buddy did this for me. I can do this for you guys. Just give me a little bit. I was busy. I was probably editing. And then I look and I get there and like, oh, they already have their base. Like, oh, you don't need me. What am I here for?
No, they just want your company, buddy.
Yeah. Cool.
Just like the people on Team Rage Across. We've got a small...
Yeah, we've already got a small army.
I don't want to see a small army.
Well, yeah, it's fine.
Say a handful of people. Yeah. But we're slowly converting... I don't know. We're not sponsored, sadly.
Fuck.
Because we should be.
Right.
Team Rage Across fucking collecting, going over this server.
Mm-hmm.
Which those of you who want to play with us, find us in the Discord. If you, those members of the game team, really, part of our backers. Yeah, of course, you join on Team Rage Across, and that's part of the deal. But hit us up first, so you don't end up.
Yeah, because we can guide you so you can be on our team.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you'll
make a character somewhere else and can't play with us, and then be mad that you have to make a new character, and we can't help that. That's not our fault.
What was it? Me and you talked about this, Danny. You had a character on server 61 for your first character.
60,
yeah,
60. But Porter had made 2 characters, one to start playing, and then one for you, to join up with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 59 and 61.
Yep.
Exactly. And then even more so and funnier even is Jaro put me on this and brought this to my attention because we still are playing the shitload of Marvel Rivals.
Yes.
The company that's doing Once Human is is just another subsidiary of the company that's doing Marvel Rivals.
So they kind of have an ownership in Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I feel like Danny's also going through his video game awakening, though.
He's had a lot of awakenings.
Yeah.
It's like that Robin Williams movie, Awakenings. It's not like that at all.
No, I was gonna say, what?
It's a good movie, though.
So, yeah, there's that's my week of bullshit. So, but yeah, it's Once Human. It's a lot of fun. It's weird as shit, but it's still fun. We're still doing Marvel Rivals. And join us on the Discord game team.
Well, which you can do through our Ko-Fi.
Right.
But on Wednesdays, if you're on the Discord, anybody can play.
Yes,
games with us on Wednesday.
Wednesday's open for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It will most likely be Marvel Rivals.
There you
That's
go.
true.
Yeah.
And lucky for us,
Mhm.
Timeverse, right? By the time this comes out, it'll well be done. But Ben and Johnny, the Thing and Human Torch are dropping
And
like
it
in
will-
just a couple days. And I'm excited to annoy all of you.
Because it will for sure be.
It's going to be clobbering time. I'm so excited to play as the Thing. And I'm just going to talk like I'm all, and everyone's been warned. Everybody knows.
Mhm.
They all know. And if you don't, it sucks to be you.
That sucks. It's going to, now it's going to happen.
I've already stated my intent to pocket heal the Thing, so Porter could just indulge this as much as possible.
Yep. Can't beat them, join them.
What a revolting development. I'll take him 5. I don't care.
Come on, take it to the ancestry.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I do love a hero shooter, so I've been pretty into playing the Marvel Rivals.
Oh, M's professional grade over here.
Yeah.
Not that good, but
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
hoping to get there.
No, you are. You're like, what, fucking
Yeah,
platinum 30 or something?
No, not quite.
You're above the rankings. They don't have numbers anymore. It's just shapes.
It's like
You're like an oval and a crown above it.
when people get MVP.
I am
Like,
definitely
you're
getting the I'm definitely getting the Sue skin though. Coming this Friday.
How about that? See?
There's a Sue skin for being
Yeah.
a higher enough rank, and I'll be getting that. So that's exciting.
Other people are getting MVP, but really what it's saying is you're almost as good as M today. Maybe not tomorrow, though.
Look at the skin they're going to give her. Just says MVP under it. So everyone already knows the game starts. There's a fucking MVP just floating around their character.
So you can tell they're pretty butthurt about getting killed by me constantly.
I applaud it.
Yeah,
Every single
fucking-
time it's Moon Knight versus Moon Knight, it's like she looks at my general direction and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't even main Moon Knight. That's not even my main.
I like how she tried to make that about us,
Yeah,
too.
but
We're
have
just
Plus,
Of course she did. Of course she did.
fucking
Yeah.
giving compliments.
Yep.
Hair flip.
I give credit because M likes to play a variety of players, but then there'll be the one time where she gets a little bummed out that she didn't do so well, and then she'll slip over to Moon Knight and just kill everybody and get MVP again.
Which is still twice as good as the rest of us are doing. Let's be clear.
Yes.
She's like, I'm only 20 kills ahead. What is this trash?
Yes.
Bush League,
She'll start
everybody.
playing with you guys.
Bush League. As she flips her hair again.
No, we got some pretty good. CJ's no slouch either.
Oh God, no! CJ, which are
But
freaking.
primarily a healer.
If it's not M, it's usually CJ.
I was gonna say between
Yeah,
CJ,
and-
Hush, and Wrath. You're primarily a healer, CJ, but you are.
Oh, his
you
tank
still-
is.
Yeah, but the Penny Parker as the tank is.
That's not how you
still
say that.
Ridiculous. I'm not saying it on air.
That's fine.
They're not just healers; they're strategists, Danny.
Whatever.
They don't only heal; they make plays.
They make plays. God
Oh,
damn it!
man.
Important to know.
Some people forget that they're healers as well.
That is true. You can't
Yeah.
forget that they also heal.
Hush,
Most healers do.
hush. I'm just kidding. Hush kicks my ass all the time.
Danny's writing checks today, huh?
He kicks my ass so hard with healers.
You guys should have heard the original opening. Danny has been writing checks
Oh,
today.
No. We're not even bringing that up.
I just did. We had to re-record the top end.
Oops. It's like keep checking down to make sure.
At least we didn't get far.
Yeah.
A little technical difficulty erased the first 15 minutes. So here we are doing it again.
Phil, didn't you say you had something for this week in bullshit?
yes, I do. I've been watching Attack on Titan with Wrath. He twisted my arm, and when I say twisted my arm, he actually just said we're watching it. So we're watching it.
Fair.
And I've been avoiding it like the plague. Not because I was ever disinterested in it. It's just that typically on a hype train, I usually avoid getting a ticket. And so, and so for years, I just didn't know anything about it. Still know very little about it with where I'm at the show right now, because I'm in the part where lots of things are happening and revealing. But the main reason why I was avoiding it for a while was the fact that typically it was going around the same time of The Walking Dead, and there was this huge plethora of shows that were like, what character's dying today in this episode, just even though we introduced them this very episode or something along those lines. And that's never really been my genre. I've never been more so wrong. I've enjoyed a lot of this journey of watching Attack on Titan, and if you haven't started watching it, maybe it's time for the zeitgeist to say start watching it. It's been really fun. Because what me and Wrath have been doing have also been like, there's the silver thing. She's a bone. Or, look at the child, a guy. That's been really fun to do, too.
That's a fun game.
Secret werewolf
fun.
show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is basically a secret werewolf show, yeah. And also trauma dumping. Every episode. There's literally an episode just called Pain.
Nice.
And pain don't hurt.
Yeah.
We were, as we mentioned, the Discord and the game team. And of course, you get to the Discord through our website. If you don't have an invite, we don't send those out to people. We don't have it listed anywhere. If someone has given you an invite to our Discord, they shouldn't.
No.
It's
I
not.
don't think it's even possible.
It's not like a bannable offense or anything.
I mean, it's possible, but it's not like we're not.
It's not.
Not the point.
Right.
Not the
Right. You can get the link to our Discord through our forums. The news announcement section, the link is right there because we want you to see what's on the forums. But also, our very own M has been hard at work fucking getting the website in better condition because I hate it so much. And M was kind enough to take the reins on that shit. And she has, it's a work in progress. That kind of thing is never really done, right?
I just added a page.
Yeah, well, what you added was the page dedicated to the actual play, to wherever Gaia takes us.
And it looks awesome, Em. It looks so cool.
It's been there for a while, and we haven't talked about it, and that's fucked up. So I wanted to take the minute to point out to everybody that it exists and to check it out.
I was going to announce it on the Discord once we got the official pictures in there.
Which will be excellent.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time this comes out, it
might already be there by the time this comes out. But
Time reverse.
yeah, time reverse.
Yeah.
But no, it's well, tell us a little bit about that, huh?
Yeah, I created a page on the rageacrosstheinternet.com.
.com.
And it has a little description of the actual play, just like the setting. It's got descriptions for each of our player characters. It's got a little map of the area that we're in. And it also has like little pictures and like small snippets like name, auspice, and tribe for each one of the other Garu that are on the island. And maybe eventually I'll put some other people in there like KT or some other important NPCs. But right now it's looking really good. I think Phil just saw it for the first time today.
Yeah, I didn't know about this, and it looks damn good. It's very well. It just looks good, and it's formatted very well. There's a map of Willow's Pass there with some details about it. Not to mention some nice art for the La Magnifique. That's awesome looking.
Did you see the cool thing when you hover your mouse over it if you're on the computer?
Oh yeah, it highlights the color in their face because right now it's just kind of like grayscale, but then you hover over it and I'm like, oh my god, detail.
Yeah, played around with a lot of the settings and the website creator, but it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to updating a lot of the pages on the website. I really enjoy website building and things like that. So, which
works out for me.
Yeah.
So again, thank you again for taking over the reins on that. That's great of you.
It looks really cool too. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Em, because she put in a lot of fucking work into this, people. So yeah, go check it out because she kicked ass at it.
Sure, we might finally get that lexicon page that we've talked about for 5 years.
Still don't understand what you mean by lexicon page, but maybe if you give me a better description of it.
I definitely want to make sure that got highlighted, got that proper shout out. So there is that. And we will take a break. And CJ, what do you have for us, sir?
For me, biggest thing that I can really talk about, or at least that I want to really talk about right now, is I've been trying out a couple different RPGs every now and then, or TTRPGs every now and then. It's what I run aside from Werewolf is usually if something's like really caught my attention, I try to do like at least a little bit of a game to get a better idea of like how this actually works and see if this is actually something cool. And I've talked about this one before. It's Kane, the one where it's a Persona Chainsaw Man style thing where you're fighting fucking representations of people's trauma on like the psychic sea, etc., etc., etc. And Phil's in this game, and he can tell you that recently we did the first like actual combat of the game, and they do combat very weird and very atypical from like any other TTRPG that I know of. The ST does not really have to roll dice.
Huh.
And the way that it works is there is a almost sort of rudimentary AI for the enemy of like, hey, here's a list of actions that the thing can do. If the players do something, they roll a die, and depending on that, it gives you like, here's 3 options for what it can do. And so the ST's only really in charge of like maybe rolling a die for damage or otherwise painting the picture and saying what happens. And there is no initiative order either. Everybody goes roughly at the same time. The players get to pick who goes first, and they can either do an action, help somebody out, or set somebody up. Every time somebody does an action, though, the enemy gets a turn. And that's where they roll the die and you see what it does. So you can really play with this of like, if everybody wants to go all out and do their own attacks and do all their weird fancy shit, if you've got 5 people, the enemy gets 5 turns. Where if you want to set up some weird pack tactic, like, you know, the anime like special move sort of thing, everybody contributing toward the spirit bomb, it only gets the 1.
Interesting.
And it was just like a really interesting system that it went by pretty quickly because, you know, half the dice rolling that you normally do is just non-existent. And it made for some weird little combo power uses and stuff as everybody was trying to get creative and help each other out.
Sounds very wholesome.
Yeah, it kind of is to a certain extent, despite how bleak it is. Because like if 2 people set up other people, you end up getting this like ganging up on the sin thing, and it's makes it very centralized to teamwork rather than, oh, look how badass my character is. No, look how badass we are, you know?
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Perfect example. The enemy only got 1 chance to react to this as Phil had his demon dog hold it down while Hush used weird gravity powers to send Joker flying at it with a massive knife infused with psychic energy.
Now, Joker, he owes us pizza, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Does he?
No, that's Beast.
No, so it would be a Beast does, but I thought Joker did too. Well, if that's not true, then we can. Oops. Yeah. Fine, fuck it.
We could just say Joker owes us pizza.
I can say lots of things. We got a microphone right the fuck here. Phil's
Wait,
made of
that's the
candy.
sort of like. Well, that's the sort of like creative actions and team up that it encourages with how this system works.
No, that's pretty sweet. Now, last time, we heard Danny's first report on his pop culture journey.
I watched Spirited Away.
You did, and you enjoyed it.
I did.
You gotta leave. You gotta add that. You gotta be sure.
Yeah. I'm not a very big anime guy, but this was very enjoyable.
But see, I feel like you don't know that. You're learning about anime now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Going back to Danny doesn't like new things.
Exactly. Everything's terrible.
Until he tries it and then
Right?
he loves it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. None of you are wrong.
So as we continue on that journey, I said last time that we were going to hold on the unveiling because, we record in batches and
Right.
yeah. So I gave it some thought, and knowing you, it's hard to make a recommendation. Like I know stuff you need to see, but it's the getting you, we're weaning you there.
Right.
So we're
knowing what I'll enjoy more.
We're gonna give you a series, but it's a shorter series, so it's only 13 episodes.
Okay. An entire series for next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but this is again, that's it. It's the 13. I guess they brought this series back later, but this is the original one that I'm handing over.
Question:
Emma's got her hand raised.
Are the episodes of the series like short or long?
Standard, 22 minutes or whatever.
Shorter. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it's only 13 episodes?
That's right.
Well, that's not too bad.
Exactly.
Not too bad.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's half of Cowboy Bebop.
And I enjoyed the shit out of that.
No, it's because it's amazing.
Cowboy
Yes.
Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop's a masterpiece.
Yes.
So what we're doing today, and here's the thing too, is I'm extending this to you guys as well.
Okay,
You know,
so this is going to be a Porter
Porter's recommendation, because I've wanted to start recommending stuff to
Mhm.
everybody, and so now we're crossing those streams. Egan said we're not supposed to, but Egan's not here anymore. Sorry, Harold Ramis.
Forever in our
R.I.P.
hearts.
We absolutely miss you. We're worse without you. No, and this is Kino's Journey.
Kino's Journey.
You have the DVD in your backpack.
Yes, you did. Just
You
give me...
don't have to write it down.
I'm writing it down.
No, you guys should
I'm
write it
there.
down. But I-
yeah, I don't know why I thought that was going to be a good idea to hold off and wait till I write it down when you already...
yeah, like you already have it. It's in your hand. Or not, but
Yeah,
it's
I
right
know-
there.
I know what you meant. That's fine. And you start writing it down. You're like, you don't have to do that. Well, son of a bitch.
Well, how will I know what it is? I got to make sure my note matches the front of the DVD thing. Otherwise,
I might accidentally watch It Follows again by accident.
right? Exactly. It was weird. This lady was like reading a shellfish, and they were running from invisible people. That's what that movie is.
STD. Sexually transmitted demon.
God.
It's true.
Have you
That's
seen that,
absolutely
Phil?
No,
So you
I've
think-
seen it. I just
Okay.
I haven't heard that joke. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, yes, this is the ST demon.
STD demon.
The power of
Use that
Christ
next
compels
time.
you to bang someone else. It was the original tagline. I don't know why they changed it.
I can't believe my friend's husband rated that a 7 out of 10
Right.
of scariness.
It's funny. It's so funny.
But no, Kino's Journey. And again, I think there was a later that they revised, they went back to it, kind of like a blood situation.
Okay.
I think so. But you have the original one. Is that a confirmation, Phil?
Yes, I actually I knew there was an older one, but I watched the newer one. So yeah, I can't confirm there is a newer retelling of the series. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen that. So this is the original one that Danny has.
So it's not a sequel.
I don't know what it is.
For all we know, it could be a Brotherhood of Full Metal.
Right. It
situation.
could be a remake. It could be a continuation. I have no idea.
Okay.
But you have the original 13 episode. I believe it's circa 2005 or so, 4 or 5, I think.
Okay.
The new one is more recent. Is that correct, Phil?
Yes, it's it's like after 2010, but before 2015. And the old one is around that time. Yeah.
Right. So those of you playing along at home, you know what to look
Mhm.
for. I don't know if it's streaming or not. I happen to have a hard copy, and that's why it's going to Danny. But the thing is these are largely self-contained episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and why I'm handing this out is I think it's an interesting series in the first place. It's like a travel log,
Okay.
and it's going to give you very Silent Strider vibes.
Ooh.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a girl in her motorcycle, and what she comes upon in her travels.
Cool.
So how long do we give them ghost stories?
Probably never.
That's a personal project.
I thought about Outlaw Star, but I think Kino's going to be, first of all, it's more low key. There's no grand plot that you're going to have to follow. Just hang out for a half hour per episode.
That's fair.
You know, it's going to be pretty chill.
A good unwind show.
I think so. And so that's the next one on the list.
All right.
And yeah, for those of you playing at home and for you dream chasers and Phil, this is Kino's Journey. Do it.
Sweet.
And that's This Week in Bullshit.
Yeah.
So now on to the show.
Mm-hmm. And again, Phil being back.
Yes, indeed. Well, last time. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Danny.
Hey.
Hi, CJ.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
We all get enough attention now? Oh, shit. So last time we did kind of a 101 adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, talking about getting people into and some things to avoid, learning techniques, and that was fun.
Yeah, bringing the brand new players in.
Yeah, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so today, though, I thought we should talk about consequences.
Bum,
Okay.
bum,
Like
bum.
Danny was 5 minutes late today, so he owed me $20, and that's the consequence of being late to the show. None of that was true.
See, that's not fair.
Not a word of that was true.
I mean,
He was an hour early, and he doesn't owe me money. And,
even an hour early,
and he brought food. Yeah. So none of that is correct.
But you did pay me back with some homemade mango Pepsi.
We covered that last time.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Yes, we
it's the same day.
It's
So
the
I was going to say
same
it's still going, but it's actually the same day. Fuck. Still got that same bottle. Because it's been an hour. Jesus.
You're not wrong.
No, but today we thought we would talk about consequences. And what I mean by that is consequences of player choice, consequences of NPC choice. We're looking at building a chronicle and how the choices that are made can affect that, how to adapt, how to overcome, how to build a web of your game.
It's like the butterfly effect, right? Every little ripple has...
Stars Ashton Kutcher?
I mean, yes, it did. But I'm just saying, every little thing has some kind of effect somewhere else. And
Well, it should.
yes, and what fun could that be doing it in your own games?
Well, you need to.
Yeah.
Because,
Mhm. It's a living world, or it should be.
right.
Shit's gonna happen because something else happened somewhere else.
And look at the actual play. And you talked about this, where we were supposed to go to a certain place at a certain time, and we didn't go until the next day. And the event had already happened, even though we weren't there yet.
Right.
So what were you supposed to do?
Well, and I think I'm actually
Wait, what event?
I'm actually glad you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this off camera.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
It was
Probably.
before you joined the show.
Oh, with the
crime
scene
scene.
that you set up with the flashing lights.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right, yeah,
I
the
remember.
crime
I
scene.
remember.
Yeah, where they were supposed to. I had intended them to stumble upon an active crime scene.
Right.
You know, the police car showed up and they thought they were going to get busted, and the cops just drove right on by because they were on their way to an actual crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I had scripted this great introduction to, setting the scene and introducing a NPC and all of this shit. And it was very David Finch. You know, very David Finch, very like cut right out of Seven. You know, is how I was vibing it. Instead of doing that, they argued a lot. And Nightfang beat people up.
Yep. Knifing, knocked out, Ricochet.
Yeah, he kicked people's asses,
And
and then
yeah.
they argued instead. So,
And
But of
went
cour-
home.
yeah, they went home. So, ruined. Now, here's the thing. 2 things you can do from that, right?
Mhm.
Well, 3, but never the third.
Ah, I see where you're going already. Okay.
You know, you can either hold that scene and do it later. Right? Just wholesale pause it, and I'm going to read these same words next time when they get there. Which is not optimal.
Mm-mm.
Right? The third thing, I'm not doing these in order. The third thing, which is the thing you never do, is you say no. You don't go, no, you can't do the things you guys said you did.
Because you're supposed to be this way.
Because I want the scene. So you, instead of having free will, you're beholden to my stupid ego. Don't play with that guy. That's a huge red flag. But the first guy, I'll just reuse the scene later. That guy's fine. It's okay.
I mean,
it's not.
He has something cool planned. He wanted to go through with it.
And we
Perfectly
understand.
fine.
Yeah. What you want, what you're hoping for, this is where you know, is it's the person that can take your decisions and adapt. I wrote this awesome scene. I was so proud of it, but it doesn't work in the daylight. And it doesn't make sense that they would be working this crime scene a day later.
Yeah. So
the world turns around you. They didn't go to the flashing lights and the ambulance and the bodies being put in the back of it. And, they were there the next day. Or there were flowers, for the, and there was maybe a little visual memorial thing, which was a little bit what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But the mood wasn't there because, there were things that I had to change. And changing is the point. They made a decision. And as a storyteller, we work around that.
How do you adapt?
Well, by adapting.
Right.
That's what we're here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
In, the greater context of it as well.
It's one of those things of this is, in my mind, this is definitely one of the most important skills if you're being an ST, is being able to adapt, being able to do these on-the-fly improv. Yes, not everybody's going to be great at it until, you get time to practice and experience and you get more confident at it. But it is something that you are going to have to deal with, and you need to be at least a little bit prepared. There are certain times where, in my Wild West game, the players were given a choice to go to 2 locations to get help. I laid it out. One place was a lot closer, meaning they'd be here to help whenever shit goes south. One place was significantly farther away, but had the stronger force. So while they might not be there to help with the initial fight, they'll be there to win the fight. My players in the Wild West said, we're going to do both. So their plan was, we're going to go to the big sept first, then we're going to come back, and then we're going to go to the little one that's closer by because it's on the way. Now, given that, time is passing, stuff is happening, an attack on a cairn is about to happen. It's been planned. They know something's going on. They're going to get help. These are the cubs that can be sent away to go get help. And so them wanting to do both led to them getting a little sidetracked at some point and eating up more time. But ultimately, they figured out very quickly both was not an option. This is one of the few times where you can say that, no, because this is a time-sensitive matter. Well, see, it's not because I had a good scene in mind.
Let me stop you there, because I don't think what you did, well, you may have used the word no. That's not, I wasn't there at the time. That's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. Because what you're doing there is you're not, and it's actually a perfect example, right?
Yeah, you're not prohibiting them.
Right, yeah, you're not stopping them but it's the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to jump in before, or, with you could either prolong it so they can do both and not let the time pass, but you just to let them, or you can have them be on their way to the second place and the cairn's getting attacked.
Yeah.
Right. First, that's what I do personally. Because if they just say, they heard time was a factor, they heard hurry, they heard important and decided to do everything and stop for lunch. Well, maybe they come back to half a cairn. I don't know.
Which that would have been what I had done if they had chose to go to the closer one first. But they decided to go to the further away one, so they were coming back as it was in the process of it.
Which is great. And the fact that you had it factored for either way, that's important. The adaptability is very important. And I think if you would have held it off, again, that's I think the mid answer, right? Because I understand why you want to do that, but it makes a less dynamic story. Mm-hmm. It makes a less dynamic world.
The holding back to let them do both, in my mind, it would make this feel too gamey at times.
Yeah.
Because yes, it is a game, but we all know that moment in an RPG of, hey,
Yes.
We have to get out of here immediately. Shit's going down. Everything's going to go exploding.
There's rocks falling from the ceiling. Yeah. But nothing's going to happen until you talk to the NPC another time. You have to say yes, and then it'll blow up.
Yeah, nobody's going to care that you go out the door and just go grind back the way you came.
Exactly. Like that
Like
timer's
5 days.
that timer's perpetually at 10 seconds until you hit agree.
Mhm. So yeah, this was a case of this was a very easy sort of binary choice for them. They had one way to go or the other. Yes, they tried to do both. But this is one of those simple times where you could easily plan for both. Now, had they decided oh no, instead we're gonna hang around the sept and try bolstering the spirits, that is something I didn't plan on.
Oh, really?
But yeah, because once again, they were told you got these places that you could go to get help. Pick one, go. But now if they had tried sticking around to bolster the spirits or something, I could let the Theurge play around with that a little bit more. But once again, ultimately, time would have passed. And if they did try to go somewhere, that would, change up the clock of events. Whenever you have that little time limit sort of thing, it's a little easier to adapt to, I think.
There's definitely the time frame. A lot of techniques that I use for keeping things living, breathing, and dynamic is less about a time frame and more about it. And this sounds bad because we're going back to the RPG mindset of triggered events. Things that don't pertain to the whole, that timer's on 10 seconds while the rocks are falling behind you. There's no agency, but it's more along the lines of what I'm trying to say is, if you do X, how does that propagate in the world? Like, let's say IRL table. They decided to cleanse an area of where I actually used CJ's inspiration of the Rot Dam, and they wanted to cleanse the area. They wanted to enlist the help of a fire spirit, a powerful one. And they did some history checks, and they learned some history about this fire spirit of the fire of 1897. And they were like, we're going to use that to cleanse the area, or help cleanse the area, not realizing that this was a traumatic event. And that spirit has some very negative connotations and was not going to help them. And so they ended up fighting it instead of cleansing the area like they were supposed to. I say that as the trigger is because that is also leading into something I didn't realize they were going to do that, but I had this in the pocket already as some part of the deep lore of my game. But what they don't know is that an elder is the one that sealed that spirit or made it go dormant to begin with, and so now it's loose in the world, and the elder's not going to be fucking happy when they report back that they just went, oh yeah, no, we summoned it. Why did you summon? It's going to be a whole big thing, and that's what like the cause and effect moment. They did something. It propagated an event. They triggered the event. And now how is another group or entity or person going to be reacting to what they did? And in this light, it's going to be a rageful, angry ass chewing.
It's the group, it's the pack who meets a mysterious new benefactor. Mm-hmm. And fails to use sense worm on this mystical guy who showed up out of nowhere with all of the right things said. And as a result,
gets a whole bunch of people killed.
And someone loses an arm,
or the time that a group totally trusts a bunch of people claiming to be Ronin without using sense worm. And buying their sad story and being told, hey, yeah, go help this Karen that's really short-handed.
Oops.
Bum, 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 bum.
They skipped a vetting process.
But let's run back a second to the example of Vermilion, the one I just gave. There's some people won't know that.
Yes,
because it's locked. Yeah, it's at that point locked behind the postmortem series.
But we've talked about it.
Look, not everyone has heard everything.
It's true.
All right.
It's the reason it's the reason Jaeger lost his arm.
Yes, but here's the thing. You had this spiral masquerading, and I mean, he had help other than just his word.
Right.
Right. like other, but you could have seen through that with enough scrutiny or with
Proper forethought.
or, some skepticism or a little research, or even exploring the grounds for a little bit to find a few bodies that weren't very carefully hidden.
And this is the case of, like, as an ST, Porter had all these extra little things prepared that could have given away
Right.
the twist.
And that's the thing, is if that twist, if this character had been found out, obviously his plan is done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the NPC has to improvise.
Yes. There's got to be a plan, which I imagine there was always that plan, but it wasn't thwarted, so what if it was?
Well, this is what we're saying. You have to be prepared. And this is the cool thing, is in a situation like that where the enemy has a plan, much like with your players, right? They'll have this thing all planned out, that first contact with the enemy and everything goes to shit. Now they got to figure it out, right? You, as a storyteller, will have to do that sometimes with your NPCs, with your antagonists when they have their big plan. And you shouldn't plan for that, but you should be aware of it. Right.
That's fair.
Because you don't want to write this masterful plot from the main villain and then have a masterful backup plan and a plan C and a plan. That's that level of writing. I don't remember who we were talking to or who was in the conversation, but it was that idea of writing smart characters or characters smarter than you.
Ah, yes.
And how difficult they can be without making them, giving them the
Basically
cheat codes.
wizards, without making them basically wizards.
Basically, exactly. The trope, the Xanatos Gambit, which comes from Gargoyles, the character David Xanatos, who always had a plan B and C and D and E and F, and all along you've been part of his plan A, even though you thought you thwarted plan A. You thwarting plan A was part of plan A.
Yep.
Take that, dick. See, so you can't, you don't do that. That's absurd. It's a wizard did it then, right? So it's okay to not have that plan, but be aware that a plan can be thwarted and that character's going to have to improvise. You're going to have to roll with it. There needs to be all around consequences and how decisions made can change a story and, fill out that web of what's going on. How quick would that story have ended and how differently would it have gone had you looked at that character and said, this is really suspicious? Sense worm. And got even a marginally decent roll. No one even did it. But
no.
Or, at the meantime, you take a walk through the thing and you find, there are black spirals hiding in the tree line, just waiting.
Well, obviously, you knew the players weren't going to do it.
I didn't know. I assumed you weren't.
You assumed,
but I
you weren't
can't
going to.
know. I'm not Nostradamus.
That's true.
Right? You can make educated guesses, but you can't know.
That's okay. That's a solid point.
And this is a point that I can actually point to of if you're going to be laying out these plans, if you're going to try and be as prepared as you possibly can, make sure you leave some wiggle room unless you 100% know your players and are actively in their heads. Because then you can get away with a little bit more of I'm going to write all this out because I know they're going to do X, Y, and Z. But leave yourself the room to improvise. For instance, the pack for my game here was having to split up to deal with two objectives at the same time. Writing this little setup of they're going to have to split up and detailing out what's in the areas, I knew exactly who was going to get put on which duty. Who's going to be the big, loud distraction and who's going to be the quiet ones. You can tell what Team Ren was on from the beginning.
I mean, sure, but also as much as you know it,
yeah,
and you can bank on it, you can't know it.
Yeah, it's always a possibility of the other way around,
and you need to be at least aware that possibility exists. Sometimes you get caught unaware, but you roll with the punches.
And this is where I balance the encounters more around the two groups. Giving them their own little ideas. I knew the strengths and weaknesses of the characters, so I like to play into both of those. And so I'll tailor encounters just a little bit. So, they get their chance to really shine, or they run into that enemy that is their kryptonite and need help.
I dig it.
But, I can move them around too if needed. Like, ultimately, there is that wiggle room. Nothing super set in stone, aside from a few key points that will really affect certain people, but won't affect other people as much. Such as, finding a bunch of kids watching Action Bill in a nightclub full of vampires.
And trying to convince them that you're the good guy after ripping the security, the guy guarding them's jaw off. I see you, CJ.
Yeah. But another one to go back with your, also be prepared for your players not to bite at all. Like, you could set everything up. You could set up all these clues, all these things that they can go find. And they could just go home, like we did with After the Wendy's, with Vermilion, or when my players found the murder shack in the middle of the woods.
They just said, fuck
Instead,
it.
instead they went back to the set, told them about the murder shack, told them we didn't go in because we figured we needed to report to it. Next day they come back, the mentor / big brother pack came back, and a few of them were fucked up because somebody had silver inside.
Oh boy.
Oh.
And you know what? I love this example that you gave. I did not know this was coming. Which, hey, look at case in point. Look at that. Look at how on theme we are. Because I wanted to bring up the idea, and you've just done it, of when a pack says no, and they choose not to do the mission objective, or to take the job, or to whatever, and then in a dynamic world, it's the job still got to get done.
Yeah.
So if for some reason they're not going to do it and they're going to get away with not doing it, someone else has to do it.
Or it gets worse.
But, that's not practical, right? It's not like your pack is the only ones with the nuclear codes, right? That's not how that works. Fucking,
Sure.
The problem is still here. It's going to have to be solved. If I can't send the Dream Chasers, well, I guess La Magnifique are going to have to do it. And perhaps as a consequence, Dave and Carter don't come home.
Oof. And that's all because the Dream Chasers decided to do something else.
Right.
So yeah, that's on our hands at that point.
Maybe everyone comes back, but an enemy or two got away, who tracked them back to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And now the bad guys know where you sleep.
Uh-oh.
Which is Bush League of La Magnifique, but we're just making up examples here.
Yeah.
Get it together, Far
course,
Four.
of course.
Jesus.
I thought you were talking about GMC pick.
Yeah. One of the big tactics I would use to help get better at this, and Porter's recommended this before, have somebody outside of your game that you can talk to. Bounce the ideas off and is this a logical, progression? If you were the player, what would you do in this situation? And it can help you flesh out those preparations just a little bit more, or give you I never considered them going left instead of right.
And again, remember the different types of answers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the storyteller that will go, okay, and run with it.
And yeah, just let it happen.
And maybe he'll turn right into left, because you don't know anyway. Maybe he'll design a whole new left. Or maybe he'll be like, nah, there's a construction crew blocking the sidewalk that way, so you can't go that way. But we'll go around it. But there was an earthquake, so there's a big crack in the, all across the street, the road's closed too. We'll all jump over it. You can't.
There's armed guards with shotguns.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Someone dropped a bunch of silver nails on the ground, and it's a weird choice for building material. But there's a lot of ag there, and the Hellfire pit is down there. So you can't jump it. Go ahead.
I'd actually like to explore that thought frame of what you were doing it as a joke, but at the same time, it's almost like a perpetual liar getting caught up in their own lies. This is also kind of a situation of where you just trying to up the ante on why no, you're doing what I'm going to do is very much that red flag toxic kind of relationship, because you're proving to the players that their agency has no meaning.
Right.
And therefore there's no more investiture in the story, let alone what happens. Cause we can all enjoy a random action movie and have a beer and pretzels night. I mean, I don't know anyone that can't enjoy that every once in a while, but if you're here committed to this craft and wanting to tell a story, way to go of showing your players and yourself, quite frankly, that you're not willing to do that. You should have just made this a beer and pretzels game to begin with and just played something else and not this narrative game.
That's a really good point, which reminds me of something that happened last time I played the werewolf game with my friends. They were completely, because of like some hints I put down about some things going on, they were completely prepared to go way off book. So off book to an area that I have like some things planned in, but I don't have any of it flushed out. And they were getting their plan to go there, and I had to be like, hey, guys, I'm going to be honest. Can you do this another night? I'm not ready for you to go here. And they were like, oh, okay. And then like completely rerouted elsewhere. It was nice to be honest, but like if they would have gone there then, all my stuff wasn't ready, and it was also completely off of what they were meant to do there. And I just had to be honest, I'm not ready for you guys to go in that area right now.
Which is, it is one of the big things of like, yeah, don't tell your players no and just no. If you really have to, like if you really can't have them going here because you have nothing prepared or nothing is coming to you, that is the point, to be honest. Nobody likes an invisible in a game. Yeah. Now, if it's one of those things of like, once again, you're playing with your buddies and they want to go talk to the elders and you haven't quite fleshed out the elders they haven't met yet, make a reason for them not to be there. Or once again, like they're off doing something, or, just come out and say like, they haven't got these guys quite nailed down yet, so they're not ready, but these two are having a chat on the porch of the elder cabin.
Well, see, I would say that the ideal answer there is just to wing it, to do it, right? The NPC's not ready.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Do your best. Yeah. And then you can, at a later date, go, hey, look, that character wasn't finished yet. So if he's different later, you understand why, and you will cut me some slack, or I will cut your throat in your sleep. You don't need all of that, but...
During that game, I had gone off book so many times because they did like go into so many random places, like investigating what they were investigating. There was like a vampire in the town killing people, a group of them actually. And so they were like investigating it, going to all kinds of different places, and they started going into other plot lines I've kind of like started to set up. Ooh. And so I was able to like kind of hints at those, but that one like is a bigger one that I'm trying to set up. And I was like, hey guys, I'm not ready for you guys to go here yet. Can we back off and go do your plan B, please? And they were like, oh yeah, plan B it is then. So
like not ideal, but the fact that you were honest, right? That's the worthier part.
Exactly.
A large margin there.
Absolutely the worthier part there.
It's the the street's closed. There's the silver nails and the fault line into Balpheus. Versus the I don't even know what's this way.
Yeah, they had a second plan anyways, which was almost exactly on target of what they needed to do. So
I will say we talk about going places. This is aired by now.
Yep.
Yes.
I am certain, but Phil has not heard it. So
so I get kicked out of the call.
I can't talk about it, but I can say that the Dream Chasers school adventure, was a great example. Yeah, the after school special was definitely an exercise in pulling on the
next
fly.
episode, isn't it?
I think it is.
If not the next one,
or the one after. Yeah. One of the two.
Yeah.
They ended up going. My characters ended up going to a.
No.
My characters ended up going to a gym. A couple of the players really enjoy being at the gym and like doing like weightlifting and stuff. So I wanted to, I wanted to put some kind of gym plot line in there.
Right. So they'll know where the beach is.
So they went there. And so I had a little bit going there already, but I had to do a lot on the fly because they started asking for like specific people they noticed in the newspaper. I kind of wrote up a whole like 2-page newspaper for them to look at.
Oh,
because that's just how I do. Mm-hmm. And so they asked for a specific person that was like in the news story. And so they went and they like talked to him, and I like kind of come up with this NPC on the fly, but I kind of enjoyed what I did. He was very like hey guys, how's it going? Yeah.
Very Jim Bro.
Very Jim Bro, yeah.
He's the Brotosaurus.
Which this is definitely something I can recommend of as like ways to do this preparation / get used to going off cuff and everything. As a theater kid, this really helped originally is like going back and or looking up like improv exercises. Always remember the yes and rule.
Did you hear that?
Look up stuff.
I did. Thank you for reminding me. I heard it.
But one thing to also consider, especially if it's something back to the you don't have something prepared or your players really need to go to a specific place for something plot critical. There is the option in the few situations where it makes sense to go no, but like let's say your players are looking for somebody being held hostage. They're in the basement, so they're going to the roof.
Yeah, to be clear.
Okay, there's nothing up on the roof, but there's like 5 floors in between them. So whoever that is that's like held hostage, if it's important for them to get to and free them, maybe as they're going up the stairwell to the first floor, the person tried to get free, got smacked around a bit, and they heard a scream come from downstairs as a result. So, do you want them to go up to the first floor? No. Or the second floor? No. But there is this screen down below to point them in the right direction. Ultimately, they can keep going up if they want. That's where, like, okay, your actions have consequences. Got to figure something out.
But what if...
But is that little signpost?
But what if, before that scream, you heard, uppies! Give me uppies! Sorry, Phil.
Oh, that was unkind. I love it. It was unkind. To Phil specifically.
I know. And he's going to hear this.
Because if he wasn't on this episode, we could talk about it.
I know. That's
but
why
we're not spoiling it for him.
Right.
It's his unkind. I'm sorry, Phil.
And then he's going to hear it. And then this episode, and be like, oh, son of a bitch.
Or probably, God damn it, Danny.
I fully expect one of those two things.
No, the goddamn it, Danny, has just happened. It's going to be, when I finally listen to it, it's going to be the moment of just like, okay.
I hope it's better than that, because I think I outdid myself.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yes. Which, and it's funny, is it back to consequences. Go ahead.
Yeah. We were talking about a lot of the times like player choices and stuff like that. I have situations where like the NPC choices, we're talking about players affecting NPCs or scenarios where when the NPCs decisions affect the players.
Yes.
And I think the best one is that in my game, both for the scouts and in the server, because I'm using the same scenario, there was legitimately a good kinfolk saying, I got you, come to the safe house. Their decision to help, to go to the safe house, but then realize that there's also betrayer kinfolk there now. And he's the one that gets backstabbed. However, that results in the players getting captured. So it's just one of those moments where like you have these different motivations on those two entities affecting the player rather than the other way around. It's something else you can play with, like these NPCs. What are you going to do with them? How are they interacting with each other? And
that's exactly like I said. I'm psyched that you brought it up because that's important too. Is to remember that your NPCs, quote, the NPCs, they're also people. They should be. They should be fully fleshed out. They should have their own thoughts and opinions and personality. It shouldn't be, the NPCs shouldn't be a stable of characters to illustrate to your players how fucking clever you think you are. We all have our moments, but we have our decisions. But, they shouldn't all be a stand-in for the storyteller knows everything. And I'm a big proponent, of what would a particular NPC do in a particular situation and how that too affects things. And to let stack on that, your players' interactions with those NPCs affect their opinion.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
The way you interact with someone, say a older Stargazer Kalendarani, right? And your decision to keep fucking needling at him might make the difference as to whether or not he's there to back you up in a fight.
Oh.
For example. Or if he does the quit hitting yourself with your legs. But, he has to bend them the other way so they can get up to your face. Quit hitting yourself. Quit hitting yourself, in order. For example.
Just an example, huh?
Or an absolute dirtbag of a Silver Fang who really loves his cars. And one of the pack decides to break a taillight.
Right.
After a real rough ride.
Which I would assume would start, and I'm using quotes here, prank war. Mm-hmm. This is the kindest way I can put that, right? A quote, prank war that will probably continue to escalate and end very poorly for the class that initiated this. I am guessing.
It's already... He's already gotten one bit of a comeuppance for it in the form of a metal toolbox to the side of the head.
And for the Garu, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You can soak it. You're embarrassed.
Yeah, it's probably more demoralizing.
That's the bigger thing.
You've got a concussion for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. But, it's that, again, thank you for bringing it up, Phil, because those choices, those things matter. How the NPCs view the world around them and the player characters, and often that is molded by the actions of the players. So agency is everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The difference between going to an elder, and I guess I'm going to quote I'm going to reference again the Postmortem series, in the case of Jasmine, Sings Till Sunrise or whatever it was at the time.
Rage's Till Dawn.
No, that's a different Jasmine. That's the guilty Jasmine.
Oh.
Not the point.
It doesn't matter.
When she gets to the Summer Rain and goes to the Warder.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Where the difference between these kids are bullshit and unacceptable and fuck them in the other ear, is one thing. But to go to the Warder, take a knee, properly introduce herself, use the proper old world suffix for the elder, and then explain the situation on while these kids are bullshit and fuck him in the ear and then fuck him in the other ear, made all the difference. Because one version gets you nothing, one version gets your PCs grounded.
Which is a great perpetual moment of describing what a player did to an NPC, where the NPC then did something to another group of players.
Right?
The perpetual nature of motivation between all those characters, player or not.
Right.
Yeah, if you know your NPC's motivations, if you know how they behave roughly, you can usually handle just about any curveball that comes at them as a result of a player choice. Once again, the example of these guys leaving the murder shack because they got to go report it instead of investigating the murder shack that so far they're the only ones that know about. When the other pack went to go and check it out because, hey, they got assigned this task, one of those members happens to be a bit of a bleeding heart. So when they find the person tied up in the basement of this murder shack, they're like, you know what, let's let them go. Clearly they haven't seen too much already being in the basement of a murder shack. Let's let them go. Okay, cool. We're heroes. Let's go. Starts going upstairs, takes a silver knife in the kidney.
Ouch.
You actually painted a really good scene with that, where you were describing how they were arguing of, she's missing anyway, kill her. No, we can't kill her. We have to be helping humanity. You mentioned that they had that argument, and that was the whole reason that pack had some tension within them. Mind you, that's not us. This is our big brother pack, and they had this argument, and there's tension at the sept because one decided to get one vulnerable and he got fucked off, to the point to where those NPCs came to us and other NPCs to be like, hey, we need some people to talk to people.
Yeah, things have been said that can't be taken back yet. You go talk to them. They tried to hit me if I went. They wouldn't listen.
It would just sound better coming from you.
It's
a hell of a ripple effect.
Certainly. And there's so many ways that can benefit your story overall. Even again, if it's NPC and NPC stuff. How about the two glasswalkers from opposing camps that are under their same sept.
Mm-hmm.
And well, lo and behold, one of your players is a glasswalker.
Yep. They're going to piss off one to go to the other.
Right.
No matter what. No matter what, they're going to piss off one.
So it's those NPCs' actions that puts your player in a spot.
Yeah.
Now he has to make a choice.
Yep.
Or try to, or maybe he doesn't make a choice. And he goes to try to make the peace. I mean, it's still a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he tries to stay out of it entirely, depriving himself of one of two perfectly fine mentors.
Yes.
You know, maybe that lack of a decision means that pack isn't chosen for a job that maybe would have yielded like a clave at the end of it. Or a hail of gunfire. And that NPC pack that was sent instead of theirs doesn't come back. Right? And now your players have to deal with those consequences, or even if they didn't like the pack, they're living in a world where their sept is a little bit weaker for it. Yeah. I think sometimes people don't think about this stuff. But you should, because it helps enhance your world. It keeps it living and breathing and moving along.
Yeah, it keeps it moving forward.
Oh, it can even help you make a chronicle if you're thinking about this to begin with. Like even just preparing, thinking about the consequences of actions, or just the consequences of what you're wanting to do for a chronicle, or for just a one-off. An example that I could point to from the server itself, in our player and storyteller corner, Brother Mouse had mentioned at one point wanting to run a event for his pack that was like going through a big city, and there's like a plague of weird mutant rats coming out of the sewers. Pushed him a little bit to get some more information, start getting some of those whys, start getting some answers or some motivations behind it. And what started off as just like, yeah, no, the entirety of New York City is having this weird plague because some chemical or some company just started dumping chemicals into the sewer. And now these giant mutant rats are coming out. That's fine for a Monster of the Week one-off. But the consequences of that are like, everybody's going to hear about this since, this is happening in New York City across the entire city.
Oh, yeah, they're all screwed.
What are the Ratkin going to do about this?
Kill them all.
Oh, is this the reset humanity button time?
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Part of it.
And
I was just thinking that, no, assimilate them, and what happens to that local ratkin? Do they fall to the worm?
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of willing to kill their own kind, quote unquote, they actually end up falling.
Yeah. And thinking of those consequences of like this, I was pointing him in the direction of like, this might be too big, especially in New York City in 2000. But if you start making this more of like a planned thing from Pentech subsidiaries, contain it to a neighborhood, a block that's maybe under quarantine because of an Ebola outbreak.
Oh my God.
And you can start actually, once again, taking these consequences and start branching out from this. And eventually you might have a full chronicle. I'm not saying use this. I'm not saying it is a great idea. But with what we hammered out in here, it ended up becoming something that was more of like an entire web that could be explored throughout a chronicle or throughout multiple chronicles versus just Monster of the Week.
All right, so the thing I've been kind of mulling in my mind since last we played and in the last couple of conversations that we've had, there was a small situation that occurred in our my last game. My player characters stopped by like a small outlook right outside the bond where a couple of kinfolk were guarding. One of which was the daughter of the elder. I have these two characters kind of fleshed out. And they met her extremely briefly. She was very dismissive of them and walked away. And one of them decided to, whenever the other one was like, hey, grab yourself some waters, we're going to hop in the truck and leave, decided to take one of the lunch boxes with them, which was hers. And so I've been kind of mulling over in my head, what is the consequence of the action of stealing from the daughter of the Sept Alpha?
And knowing that Alpha, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know that that's who she is. They haven't been introduced to her yet. But what would those consequences be? I've been kind of mulling that over in my head.
I mean, you got the sub alpha fleshed out, right?
Mildly, about halfway.
Well, see, so right now you have the not the courtesy, but the advantage of being able to play with that to a wider scale. And I think this is going to help define who those characters are.
I was just going to say that whatever you decide is going to help, help finish building or fleshing out that character.
Yeah, there's not a wrong answer, provided you stay consistent.
Right.
Yeah. Like, is he the kind of person of like, you fuck with my family, I take an arm? Or somebody stole your lunchbox, sweetie. Why'd you let it out of your sight? Why'd you let him do that?
Or it's a lunchbox, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweetheart, Uncle Dave got shot in the face last week and you're coming to me with a lunchbox?
Yeah.
Phil.
So I'm kind of mulling over what's going to happen in the world because of that. It's kind of what I've been kind of mulling over. What is the interaction going to be between her and them? What's going to happen when they need something from her? Is she going to be receptive? Definitely not. I do know that.
Well, I'm also thinking this happens and it's so innocuous to the play. Because you also have to think about it this way. If the players never figure this out, but they're getting a string of bad deals. They're not, they're getting just super hard rank challenges. They're getting the shit missions. They're getting extra bond detail. And they never know why. Like, that's a player choice affecting an NPC that's affecting the players again, and they don't know that that's even happening, that was the ripple effect of what's going on.
It's just kind of happening because of, but they'll never know. Yeah.
And that can be fun for a reveal later.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Running back, inspired by what you were something you said to CJ, I actually was talking to our buddy Hush the other night, who was coming up with an idea for just a little threat. I think he was looking for maybe like a one-off or a 2 or 3-parter, something little. And he was bringing, he shows me his scenario. This is what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure, Porter, what do you think? Which is always nice. Like our Discord, we have that player storyteller section where people come in for things like that and we can help them. And I don't generally look there unless I'm specifically called out. For the record, if you guys are like, how come you didn't answer mine, Porter? You got to tell me. There's a lot going on in the Discord, man. I can't be everywhere. Yeah. I'll look if you tag me. I've heard that before. How come you never? It's like, well, because I don't know it's there. Or I have other things to do. Just there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I've missed out so many cool conversations because I've been at work.
Yep, because we don't see it. It's just a piece of advice, unrelated. But no, Hush brought in, so we're talking about it, and I spitball, and I go, well, what if this, and what if this, and what if this, right? And suddenly, his 1 or 2 story thing is a chronicle now.
Yep. Holy shit.
He took our 5-minute, and I think it might have been 5 minutes. Like, I'm not here to flex on it, but I got it in 1.
That's fair.
I think it was 1 sentence I sent to him, or maybe 2 or 3, like one thought. And he took that Inspirato and fucking ran, and he's got a chronicle now, and it sounds super rad. And that's the thing later. I won't, because I don't know who's playing in that and who's not. Yeah. So I won't discuss it on air.
Fair.
I believe.
Very fair.
I believe he was like, he didn't tell me the entire thing, but he's like, yeah, I have this idea, this idea, this, and idea. I'm like, okay, this is exciting to hear about. Yeah. So,
but again, that's how things can ripple, and that's
great.
I will say, just jumping back to M's real quick, because I had an initial idea of because you said that this character hasn't really, I don't know how the specifics, but is it that the players didn't get along with this character, or this character did not get along with the players to begin with?
It was a little bit of both. Okay. She's a little cold, and dismissive, and they are just young little eager kids that were trying to be overly friendly, and she was not being receptive to that. And then so they were therefore not very receptive to her. So
yeah, and this is where in my mind I was trying to think of okay, what's the worst idea I could come up with for a really bad example. Of what's a twist that could come about of this, or what happens because of this decision? What's going to be the worst thing I can come up with? Not in the worst isn't the baddest result, but the worst is okay, this might be a little too far-fetched even for me as an ST. But if you had never had this little detail planned about the character, my first thing to mention is if she was the one driving the truck or something, have them find like maybe a little insulin kit in the lunchbox.
Oh no, that would have been funny.
Because, that could be just something super small. Is like, oh shit, what the fuck's this? We're a bunch of like teenagers. None of us have any idea about this.
Uh-oh.
Little do you know,
she's a drug addict.
Yeah. Maybe that's
instant thought.
Only to find out later that, hey guys, if you wanted to take this the farthest extent versus, she just has a really bad day and has to go stop by a convenience store to get some orange juice. Maybe if she's the one driving, they just sent 2 kinfolk to the hospital.
Yikes.
Right.
Somebody passed out behind the wheel.
Could work in well from Brimley.
And this is where, like, if you had this set up beforehand, this little detail about the character, this is a potentially interesting idea to especially get the characters to maybe try warming up to this person a little bit of, like, we feel bad that we put you in the hospital, but we're never going to admit it. But now, if you didn't have this plan, and this is like, oh, I want to make you guys feel bad for stealing this lunch bag, that's where it's like, okay, this is done not in good faith. This is like a gotcha moment.
Yeah.
No,
definitely a really funny extreme.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, because you brought up a story, maybe I don't remember, a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was the last episode. I remember, but your players they weren't going the way you thought they were. They saw a camera, so you rolled to see if there was actually a camera. So you kind of adapted there. But what if there was no camera? What do you think they would have done? Do you think they would have went your original plan?
I have no idea what they would have done in that case, but yeah. So like they kind of were going off book in that case. Mm-hmm. They were looking for like a vehicle that was nearby, or like how to find the person and what vehicle they were driving. Right. And so they started looking around for cameras, which for some reason wasn't something I had thought of when I was writing the story. That's why I rolled for it to see if there was a camera on that building.
Right.
If not, yeah, what would their next steps have been? Hopefully it was one of the other things I had planned out, but if not, I probably would have used my dice roll thing in order to flesh that out again.
Okay, so they did have like a backup plan, kind of.
I had a backup plan for them for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they had other options available to them.
Yeah, there was like a hot dog vendor nearby. There was like a homeless man that lived on the street in that area. Yeah, so there was a couple people who were like there that would have like noticed and helped.
But I will say I'd like to highlight the fact that you rolled for that answer versus just saying, no, there's no cameras, because you didn't plan for that.
Right.
I didn't plan for it, but when they said, oh, is there any cameras on like the street? And I was like,
well, that's a good idea, maybe.
Point. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And so I rolled my dice and it came up with a positive result. So it's like, yeah, there is a camera indeed on the street. It's on, I think it was like a club or a bar that they went to.
Adapting.
Yeah. I've been talking about how, like, because I've been writing notes this entire time about how, like, an event triggers an event, a player affects an NPC, an NPC affects a player. You just gave me a moment of that's where the player is affecting the ST. Giving them a moment to like, oh no, basically rewarding player agency of like, is there a camera? Oh, yes, and giving them like, oh, that's how I want to figure out the information. Even though you wrote in 3 other different ones, congratulations, your players just gave them a 4th. And how good should it feel for the players to inspire that 4th decision that just happened to work out? This is very much the opposite of like, you wrote for right, they went left. Well, now you just you wrote for right, they went right, and fireworks also happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to shoehorn them into like the direction I had already had, because they came up with a good idea that I for some reason didn't think of, which happens.
And that should always be rewarded, Yeah, no,
she adapted though, so that's still it's kudos to you still. Kudos for the players, yes, but like for you to still be able to adapt to it was still good.
Thanks.
And I will say there are moments like that where players could probably make a very bad decision or come up with a bad idea. Sure. And sometimes you gotta let it happen.
I don't know what
there are sometimes that you can discourage it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
like, hey, we have to go over here. Do we want to go over this bridge, walk through this pasture, or walk through this area labeled active minefield?
Yeah.
There's players who are going to choose the minefield, or like, hey, we have a sheriff in the woods who's hanging up bodies. Do we kill him or do we track him down? No, we're going to scare him off and never do anything about it.
I still have no idea what you're talking about, CJ.
I love that never came back, and I'm relieved that it never came back because it's so old now.
Mhm.
Like, you let that sit for like a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
And then Carly just figured it out
Yeah,
too,
she just
because
found out.
it got brought up in conversation, and she's like, "And you didn't mention this. Why?"
It's not important anymore. It's not important
It's not.
anymore.
We moved on. It's dead.
Just move it on.
It's fine.
We moved on.
Sure about the flat
I
pets?
will say that's yeah. That's actually been really enjoyable in the actual play with Carly going like, "Oh, you've been through this, and it didn't dawn on you." That's happened
This is
multiple
also-
times, and it's really fun.
This is also why I recommend getting that outside influence as an ST to like somebody you could talk to or just ask questions to, because you might end up with your own moments of like that. Of like, oh, this never dawned on you that they could have gone left?
Yeah, I will say it does put me in a bit of a disadvantage not having...
Your assistant story.
Yeah, I don't have an AST anymore. It's really just a sounding board. You just give it a fancy name.
Mhm.
But yeah, someone I can talk to because everyone listens. And then it's like, no, you can tell me. I'll pretend I don't know. Well, I don't want to ruin the show
Yeah,
for you, though.
can't,
That's
though.
not...
Everyone says that, and I feel bad because they all have the nice and good intent.
Right. Well,
You
even
can't-
you. You're
yeah.
like, no, I don't mind. I'm like,
I
well,
know, and
even if I'm not going to tell you anything.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I know me and Porter have talked once or twice, but it's been through like 3 layers of abstraction.
Yes.
Yep.
Which
To where
also...
we're not even talking about the right thing.
Yeah, it makes it difficult, too. But, like, I have to wrap the metaphor in a secondary metaphor. like fucking layers of bubble wrap, you know?
For instance, our totem quest. Or most, and somehow spawning from the, taking a Dr. Seuss book and putting it next to some place in the Library of Congress.
I remember that conversation now.
But adapting to the consequences. I mean,
Mhm.
I imagine there's every single storyteller, there's going to be someone or something that's going to throw a monkey wrench in your game.
Oh, it's inevitable.
Oh,
Yes.
every time.
So it's how you
course.
are going to deal with it. And it goes for the characters too. You have CJ, you have plans on what you're going to do. You want to do this, but guess what? Your dice said, fuck you. No, you can't jump over this.
Or, CJ the ST, I have a really hateable character the players are ready to meet and set up to meet. And I have, whenever I wrote my script, I wrote out 2 possible lines for somebody tried getting in the car.
Or what's going to be airing next, which has already aired for those of you who are listening, where we have a direction we're going, and Carly goes, "Never mind, we're going to go this direction."
And like aggressively, quickly in another direction.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
So
fuck.
it's your fault.
Fuck.
Carly.
Fuck.
What I do?
Yeah, it's definitely Carly's fault.
Gnomes. Fuck it. Gnomes.
Gnomes.
There are no gnomes.
No, that's not.
Gnomes.
No
Not a one.
Yeah, aggressively in a different direction.
And it gets us
For
all
reasons,
punished.
but-
I actually will say this might be a decent question for us all to answer at some point with how do you write for this? How do you prepare for this? Like whenever you're writing your scripts, whenever you have these choices, like what do you do personally
Me?
when you have like these consequences? Yeah.
I mean,
If it's something as simple as like a conversation with a specific NPC, because depending on how your players take that, it can be drastically different.
well, sometimes, not all the time. I generally know my NPCs pretty well.
Mhm.
I think so. I'm usually pretty good to wing it. But you guys have also seen some of my scripts through the postmortem series, so you see there are times when I will write some sample dialogue, based on a particular disposition or a secondary disposition.
Yeah, or depending on who asked it.
Right. Because that matters, and you get that idea sometime, and you just want to be prepared, so sometimes it'll come to me and I'll write it down. Especially when I feel that some of those options are particularly interesting. They might not take them, but I really liked how this scene went down in my head this way, so I'm going to put a note there just in case. You know? Like, I wish I had the magic formula to say, right? But for me, it's knowing the NPCs at that point. Yeah. And being able to course correct if I fuck a thing up, because that happens too. I mean, we're all human, right? You know, it's just, I mean, a lot of that's just experience. And I fucking, I hate that answer. It's not helpful.
But it's one of those things of like, if you know your NPCs well enough, maybe you don't need to focus as hard on like, hey, this person's going to say X, Y, and Z, and just put down the important stuff.
Yes.
For example, whenever I do some of my NPCs, usually whenever somebody enters a scene for their first time, I have like maybe their first 1 or 2 lines of dialogue already planned. Like, this is how they're going to enter. This is probably what they're going to say, unless somebody, initiates conversation with them first. It's almost like I prepare like the first 2 dialogue boxes in an RPG. After that, it's all whatever comes up.
Okay, yeah.
And then maybe I'll have like a closing of like, yeah, this whenever it feels right for them to leave, this might be the little thing they throw in as like, oh, hey, I just remembered. I was supposed to tell you guys, you got to be out there at dawn. It's like 30 minutes as an hour walk.
Yeah, I've always noticed if I plan too much, I always end up missing something. So I just make sure to have the highlights in there. Which
is funny, right? Because you guys have seen the different various scripts, Sometimes I will plot out very specific dialogue, but it's in the service to a scene. Sometimes I will just do highlights.
Yes.
Sometimes, like during the Condemned, that was like a full-on script. That was a full-on fucking radio play.
Yeah.
But it was also
a lot of NPC talking to NPC.
And that's something that I do that I don't know if happens enough out in the world. And I think you guys notice that I do a lot is I have my NPCs speak to each other.
Yes.
They acknowledge each other because they're in the world with you. They're not just Cardboard Town waiting to tell you the exposition and that's all.
They just stand there and wait for you to come to them because they have one thing to say.
Right. They'll interact with each other. Dodger will go to get the special Smugwort blend for your totem quest and find out it's been replaced with guacamole. Why? Because that their pack thought it was funny. Yeah. And they laughed because it was funny.
Because they're all different people.
Right. So I love that example.
And it's one of the things of like, I've done this a few times with pack explaining stuff to the players, like in their beginning phases. I'll write out some of like the explanation, at least the key points as it relates to a character. Like, somebody describing a tribe, I'll try writing it from like the tribe of that player's perspective or that character's perspective. So, a Silverfang describing the Shadow Lords.
You're right.
And if there's a Shadow Lord in the pack, I'll have a quip loaded, ready to go to be like, and that's bullshit. That's why you shouldn't listen to the Silverfangs because maybe I'll never get there as one of the players calls them out of it. Or maybe it just doesn't feel right because one of the players pissed off that Shadow Lord and he fucking dipped.
Right. It's because those things matter, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just having that at least something written down to help be that guide almost.
Yeah, and it's all in service to making the world a larger and more real place for your players to interact with. And that ideally enhances the shit out of their experience.
By far.
And sometimes it's just fun. I mean...
I think it's been a minute since we've said it, but, it's getting out of Cardboard Town.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. There was to go on to CJ's question about like, how do you like plan for like encounter, like especially if it's an NPC that I have not used yet, the players have not met, and I haven't myself flushed them out. Oddly enough, I use the nature and demeanor concept on the character sheets that no one uses, and what I mean by that is, and what
it's verboten here.
But what I mean by that is like I'll use those as like maybe I'll use that description on the character sheet of like what is the concept of the character, the nature and demeanor, just as a guide frame to be able to just for having 3 bullet points of saying, hey, Elder is confident by nature but hesitant in demeanor or something like that. However, he's the quiet one, the quiet elder. So you're like, so how do I use that as an elder in that moment when they first make contact with it? Maybe he doesn't speak to them at all. He's on the side listening to the conversation that they're having with another elder. And yet he's still there, and that could be the first contact. They didn't speak to him at all, but I still have a guide of like how, even though he's there, didn't say anything, he's still, how is he feeling about that situation for them interacting with another NPC too. So that's just an example of like, of how I do that for social interactions or first contact NPCs. And then I get into their head because when I'm driving or just doing my thing, I'll have role play sessions in my own head. I don't know if that makes me sound crazy.
I do it too.
Yeah. And that's when I flush them out on how they would actually, all right, well, this quiet elder, how is he actually going to talk? Is he going to talk softly and only say to the point, or is he going to elaborate on why he's saying it, or is he just going to be like talking very quickly and getting way off the point every single time, is because he's too scatterbrained to actually realize, and that's why he shuts the hell up. You know, like that's how you kind of that's how ultimately I end up exploring after the initial contact.
Fair.
Sometimes if you don't if you don't have a character flushed out, or you don't have a good idea of how the conversation's going to go, sometimes just a line or a description of the character can help spark something. After meeting the absolute worst Silverfang in history, in the form of Gary, the pack very shortly met one of his packmates called Ron Swifttalon. All I have written for him as an NPC, aside from a few basics for his intro and for his dialogue, is just the simple phrase to describe him of, I know I'm better than everyone else. I don't have to show off.
He's not conceited. He's convinced.
And like that shaped a lot of like how he interacted with them, how he talked to them. You know, all very polite, all very proper, and at the same time not taking anything too seriously, because this is all nothing to him. It's just a bunch of kids having a little spat. I'm just keeping my packmate from making a fool of himself as always.
And that's something too. And I think it's probably a topic for another day. The idea of interpack workings through your NPCs and things like that. You know, the question of why do these people hang out with these people?
Yep.
Is a real thing.
Yep, which helped with fleshing out Gary's pack a little bit more.
That NPC thing, I think that's another show we're doing in the near future.
Sounds good to me.
But yeah, it's going to be a subject for another day. Unfortunately, that is our time. But it's a good time as always, right?
Oh, yeah. And Phil, thanks again for joining us, man.
Absolutely.
Yep, great to have you here, buddy.
This has been ecstatic, and I'm glad to have had this conversation. I took a lot of inspirato from both episodes.
Awesome.
Well,
have you again?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I understand if you don't.
I'm just going to warn you, Phil. Having you on for 1 and 2 shows, that's how it started with me.
I don't know if I can handle this time over shit.
Well,
yeah, you'll get used to it.
You've already signed your name away, so.
Oh, that's why I pricked my finger. That's why the insulin vial was there.
Which name? Filligan, Filimanjaro, Filibuster?
Yes. All of them.
I'm all of them and none of them all at the same time.
Exactly.
This is perfect. Yeah, that's our show, everybody. Great to have everyone here, as always. Great to have you guys listening out there at home. Thank you so much. Your support, and it means everything. It's not easy sometimes trying to keep this game alive. And knowing you guys are out there, that's a huge deal. And so we hope you had as much fun listening as we did doing it. We'll see you again next week. And, remember, just take care of each other. It can be rough out there. Remember what keeps us together, not the shit that keeps us apart. Take care, and we'll see you next time. The power of Christ compels you to bang someone else. It was the original tagline. I don't know why they changed it.